Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world, and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is July 2nd, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1957, the excellence of execution, Bret Hart. 1962, the big man from Germany, Baracus. 1964, it's Little Nate, Charles Robinson. 1973, it's Scotty Too Hottie Taylor. And last but not least, 1975, the luchador known as Chessman. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, your pro wrestling deaths for July 2nd. 2010, former NWA Ohio Heavyweight Champion, Steve Stan Lee. 2017, the eldest Hart brother, Smith Hart. Alright, enough of the sad stuff. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for July 2nd. A super short trip in the Wayback Machine today, as we start in 1983. Jim Crockett Promotions ran Greensboro, North Carolina at the Coliseum, with the main event being NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race defeating Ric Flair via disqualification. 1987, the Great American Bash Tour stopped in Landover, Maryland, with Dusty Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, and the Road Warriors defeating the Four Horsemen in the main event. Grabbing my flannel and going to the decade of grunge, 1991, in one of the biggest news stories of the decade, NWA WCW World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair quits / is fired by WCW. Flair was scheduled to face Lex Luger at the Great American Bash pay-per-view 8 days later. According to Flair, he did not get along with WCW Executive Vice President Jim Herd, who wanted Flair to change his whole character to become a gladiator. They were in midst of a contract negotiation when Herd told Flair he wanted him to drop the belt to Luger at the Bash. Flair wanted to work out a new contract first. Herd then said he wanted Flair to drop the belt to Barry Windham before the Bash and not appear on the pay-per-view. Herd then changed his mind again, saying he didn't even want Flair to drop the belt and that WCW was going to strip him of the title. However, the belt, the big gold belt, was a holdover from the NWA days. This is when WCW was breaking away from the NWA name, and Flair still had a $25,000 deposit down that he had given as security while holding the belt. Flair said if Herd wanted the belt, Flair wanted his deposit back. Herd told Flair he could keep the belt then, and Flair left for the WWF with the belt still in his possession. 1994, the Dirty White Boy defeated Bruiser Bedlam and Jim Cornette, both subbing for Smoky Mountain Wrestling heavyweight champion Jake Roberts, in a handicap steel cage match by pinning Cornette. With Roberts not in the building, the fans were allowed to choose White Boy's opponent. They chose Cornette, but Bedlam entered the cage to make it a 2-on-1. After the bout, Terry and Dory Funk Jr. helped in attacking the Dirty White Boy, while other wrestlers made the save. And last but not least, 1999, Extreme Championship Wrestling ran the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York, with a main event of ECW TV champion Rob Van Dam defeating Balls Mahoney. Those were your super short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for July 2nd. I'm the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.